welcome the Executive Director of the Sandbox Collaborative at Southern New Hampshire University, Brian Fleming.
How many of you are familiar with this concept? The BHAG, the famous BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal, which sounds so strange when you say it in front of a large group of people. These are the goals that we set for ourselves as individuals, for our organizations, for our industry, for our world. They are the goals that they challenge our ways of thinking, our ways of doing business, our ways of thinking about ourselves and our future. I work at an organization, Southern New Hampshire University, which very much embraces this concept and thinks in these terms in several ways. At a time when many believe that higher education inhabits this kind of rigidly defined space between higher ed and work, I think we're all very familiar with this kind of thinking, this very kind of siloed, almost industry-specific type of thinking. We as an institution really pride ourselves in redefining boundaries by creating personalized pathways that give learners just the right learning at the right time, at the right place in their lives. Our mission of our institution is that our success as an institution is defined by our learners' success, and that we exist as an organization to challenge the status quo in higher education, to continue to rethink what living and learning and working and learning means for our learners. So one evidence of that I wanted to talk about is not that. This. So we have a project that we have been carrying out for the past couple of years called our Featuring You Employment Assessment. If you are not familiar with this, I'm going to talk a little bit about this, but we actually have a booth in the back. And Kat Flynn, our Deputy Director of Learning Science, is at that booth. Kat has been instrumental in carrying out this work, so please stop by, say hi to Kat, and get to know our folks. We have just wonderful members of our team that are here. So what is Featuring You? So this is a project that has been developed with support from google.org to really investigate the intersection of higher education and workforce, and K-12 for that matter, but among populations that are not historically served, at least by higher ed. So what I'm talking about is this. So as we think about, for instance, kind of employers in need of market-ready candidates with soft skills, I think we're all very familiar with this narrative, and the millions of youth and young adults out there that do not necessarily lack those skills, they lack the ability to translate those skills. Does that make sense? They lack the ability to articulate those skills that they already have into visible forms of certification that employers recognize. And so Featuring You is a digital assessment and credentialing platform that we've developed on the LRNG platform and in partnership with CourseScore and Innovate Educate to really take a look at how do we meet young people where they are with a very, very rigorous digital assessment designed to help them get to where they want to be. The population for this is the over 4 million opportunity youth that are out there today, which according to some research would suggest that's 1 in 9 teens. Typically between 16 to 24 years old, out of school, unemployed, enrolled in school but not showing progress, various other ways in which we have defined this population. So this is what the experience looks like. So the learning journey that we've created for our youth sort of looks like this. So we start with recruitment. We start with the organizations that know these young people best, the organizations that are embedded within their community, that know their context. We work in partnership with these organizations. These are just a handful of the organizations that we have worked with in support of this project. The assessment itself, it is actually what you might call a pre-hire assessment. And what I mean by that is that we actually lead the learning experience with an assessment, not with the acquisition of content. We have found through our research there is no shortage of content out there, information that I can put in front of a young person and say, here, know these things, do them, put them in your brain, try to implement them in some way. But again, the problem to be solved is that our young people lack the ability to actually capture what they already know and articulate that in a meaningful way, leading to employment opportunity. So through an assessment, one of which developed with CourseScore is in critical thinking, again, and on the LRNG platform, leading to a digital badge. In this case, this is a digital badge that is powered by SNHU, so has the SNHU distinctive on it, and signals to the employer that this is not just someone who is particularly strong in the area of critical thinking, but a university believes in this person. And a university is putting their stamp of approval not just on this badge, but on this person. That then leads to employment, so our working with various employers, one of which is Target. That, by the way, is not like Target, like we're at the end. That's like Target, the store, where you buy laundry detergent and clothes and things like that. Target has been a wonderful partner with us in this work to help us connect our young people that go through this assessment to meaningful work opportunity, guaranteeing interviews for youth that complete the various assessments. By the way, just as by way of numbers, currently to date, we have awarded 1,100 badges, just over 1,100 badges, to young people through this assessment, and 1,700, just at a little over 1,700, have actually completed one of the assessments. So we're making progress, and we are in the process learning quite a bit. So what I wanted to just kind of end with here, once I do this, is show you a couple of things. So first of all, one of the assessments, and I would show you the previous, sorry, one of the assessments is called Crisis in Space. As you can see, this is a game-based assessment. This is developed on the LRNG platform, and it is designed to measure various aspects of problem solving. It's a very, very cool assessment, game-based assessment. And this is another piece that I think is very important to identify, is that we really have to continue to experiment with various forms of assessment, digital assessments, assessments that use simulations, various other things, and this particular one applies games. Okay, so what have we learned to this point? We have learned that the battery is low on this clicker. So just a couple of things, and part of what we've been doing with Google.org is we're capturing our findings, our learnings, things that and we want to sort of share these out with the field. So lesson number one, this is a really hard problem, by the way. It's one thing to talk about these things in the abstract at a conference, in a hotel. It's another thing to go and actually do them. And when you do them, surprise, surprise, hard problems fight back. Systems are not always designed to get the results that we want those systems to get. And so a lot of this really does involve the hard work of systems change. The next lesson learned is that you really have to, as you go through this, as best you can, professionalize the practice and the process. And I speak at this largely from the vantage point of higher ed. Higher ed has historically been very good at having these kind of small, ad hoc, kind of niche pet projects that exist in this area, but that have rarely ever translated into the core strategy and process of the institution. So in doing this work well, you have to professionalize the process. And what that means is you have to staff people to work on this, to think about this, to do research around this, to facilitate organizational change, to get your organization to think more meaningfully and critically about this space. You have to scale through partnerships and other force multipliers. The force multipliers that exist out there are there for a reason. You cannot do this alone. Hard problems fight back. You have to professionalize. And in doing that, you have to identify the forces that are out there that exist in the world that are going to allow you to reach a deeper impact. Take advantage of digital technology, but do so in a way that is sensitive to the needs of your audience. There is no shortage of digital assessments, digital credentialing, digital learning platforms out there that are designed for the upper half or upper quarter of the market. In fact, that's the vast majority of spend out there. Very, very little is actually currently being spent on the deployment, the design and deployment of digital learning and digital technology for our low-income and opportunity youth. And so we have to think about this. We can't just simply repackage what we're already doing and plop it in the middle of a community. We have to think about the contextual factors, and we have to think about the design of these technologies to meet the needs of these learners. And then finally, and I just want to end on a positive note, because this is very hard work, but believe it or not, you can empower learners and unlock opportunity. The shift is happening, to use my friend Jamay's term. This is something that I have internalized, that I have taken very, very seriously. It can be very easy to encounter this kind of work, talk with your colleagues, come to a conference, and just sort of get really down because the problem just seems so vast. We should not be. We should be excited. We should be focused on this effort because it is happening, and there is evidence of real impact being had. We at SNHU are, of course, thrilled to be part of that, and thank you very much.